Hey guys, I'm Torie, and you're listening to That Girl, the podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in because the new episode is starting now. Hey guys, how is everyone doing today? If you are coming back and you are already a member of the That Girl community, welcome back. I hope that you're having a fantastic day so far. If you are new to the community, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you join us and come back for more tips on just navigating your 20s and becoming the best version of yourself regardless of what age you are. It's a super fun time here. We have lots of fun, and on that note, I do want to mention that we hit 100 followers on Instagram, which means we are doing a giveaway. I am just waiting to have enough funds that I can go out and buy this stuff for the giveaway. I've bought some of it, but I want to make sure it's all nice quality stuff that you would want, so I'm kind of taking my time and buying things as I find them, but as soon as I get them, I'm going to post a picture with all of it, and it's going to be a fun basket that pretty much no matter what your best version of yourself looks like, you're gonna want what's in it. So go ahead and follow the That Girl podcast Instagram, as well as hitting follow or subscribe, can't talk today, on whichever platform you're currently on to get updated on when that will be available. So sorry if you hear my puppies pitter-pattering around. It's about time for them to go outside, so I'll probably have to stop in a few minutes and let them go play and then just watch them while I film. But I wanted to go ahead and do this intro, talk to you guys, and I didn't really realize they wanted to go out until literally right when I hit record, when they started going crazy. But before we jump in, I'm trying to think of if there's any major life updates. Nothing's really changed since Wednesday. All the same stuff is going on. I've still been cleaning. Obviously, that's why this episode is super prominent right now. I've been reorganizing the house. We're still dog sitting my sister's dog. So if you saw the little gray wolf coyote looking thing in the video, that is my sister's puppy named Indy. And she is super cute. She fits into our little group super well. But since there's really nothing else to update you guys on, let's go ahead and jump on into this topic. 1, you are already a part of the That Girl community and you listen to most of my episodes. Or 2, you resonated with the title and you are looking to declutter some, if not all, aspects of your life, which is great because I am as well. And I am not just going to be talking about how to declutter your house or how to declutter your room. I'm going to try and talk about a wide range of topics like technology, mental space, anything that really doesn't serve you anymore in any capacity. I'm going to try and dive into. Oh my gosh. Do you guys hear that? I don't know why my dogs decided today was the day, but today is apparently the day. Okay, so update. The dogs are now inside eating because they decided this would be a perfect time for them to just have a little medley, do a little bark in the backyard, and just send me spiraling. But like I was saying, I am in my declutter era, and I knew I wanted to do a declutter video sometime in the fall because like fall cleaning. And then a couple episodes ago, Chelsea and JC did one on how to clean up your life. And in their episode, they were talking about how they've just felt like they want to declutter and throw out everything. And I definitely have felt the same way. So I don't know if it's one of the planets in retrograde. I don't know if it's just the 3 of us or if this is like a universal thing. But since all 3 of us feel that way, I felt it was a good time to go ahead and release this episode. So, like I mentioned, we're going to talk about all aspects of decluttering. I think I'm going to start with the physical, like a physical environment, because that one's kind of the easiest and the most obvious, and then we'll talk about everything else. As you guys probably know, you definitely know because I post updates on my podcast all the time, or on the podcast Instagram. We moved in April and we are literally still moving in. We still have a couple things to unpack, and it's just been like madness. So decluttering has become a really big part of my life because like I've been trying to get rid of things that no longer serve me, especially things that are not, I don't think of it as something that didn't serve me at one point. I think of it as something that is not going to serve who I want to become. So an example of that is clothes. If I look at something and I'm like, this is not the style that I am trying to portray or like my best version of myself would wear, then I get rid of it. I used to be like worried about how something like maybe I'm not gonna have the money to replace it or something like that, and I'm gonna have to wear it. But if it doesn't bring you joy, just get rid of it and figure out the rest later in terms of clothing, because it's gonna hurt your confidence so much if you're just walking around with stuff you don't want to wear. So whether you sell that on Instagram, Depop, Plato's Closet, there's so many different ways to go about it. Donating to Goodwill. If you need money, you're gonna be able to get a little bit of money out of it, and then just go to thrift stores where it's typically less expensive and you're supporting slower fashion, and it's probably a little bit more trendier, or they have every single fashion style you can think of. That's really what I've been doing. I used to think that it was kind of like cringy to shop at Goodwill, because like we kind of grew up thinking that if you shop there, like it wasn't a trendy place or you were kind of looked down upon. But no, I mean, like isn't it like one color is like half off at one point, or it's either on Sundays or it's every day of the week, I can't remember. But like there's all kinds of fun things, and if you literally can't afford high fashion, like if you can't afford to be shopping somewhere like at the mall, sis, I've been there. Just go to Goodwill. No one's gonna know anyway. But this is not about that. This is not about like shopping. But what I'm saying is start with your closet first, because you're gonna find the most room there. And I recommend doing this 3 or 4 times. Like spend a month probably, and every single week pick a day, whether it's Friday. I like to do Fridays or Sundays where you just clean and tidy up. That's gonna help you so much. Obviously do little cleaning every single day, like do your dishes, and if there's trash, pick it up, take it out, things like that. Laundry. But if there's like one day where you Swiffer the floor, sweep, clean everything, deep clean your shower, things like that, you're not really gonna get to a point where you need to just like super deep clean and it gets to, like really bad, because you're doing it once a week. But whichever day you pick, go ahead and like every single Sunday for a month, go through your closet, because you're gonna find more and more things, even if it's one thing. So go ahead and do that. I promise you, I've probably done this 5 times since we moved in, and I end up getting like a box of stuff every single time, because I have so many clothes. I haven't like really gone through my clothes. I didn't go through my clothes like all of high school or all of middle school, because it wasn't like something like in my family where we were like, okay, time to go through your clothes. Like no one really did that, so it was kind of up to ourselves, and I just never got to it. So literally I have clothes that don't even fit me in my closet. So definitely do that. And even if it's 1 or 2 items that you end up getting rid of, it's okay, because you are being ruthless about your decluttering. So clothes are really important. Refurbishing them, like I mentioned, there's ways to do that. After you do that, there's other aspects, like, oh my gosh, the most satisfying thing to me is going through my food and throwing out anything that doesn't have an expiration date. So go ahead and do that. I do that once a month, and if there's anything that's like expiring in a week, I'll leave it and then just kind of like keep a tab on it. Like I know in my mind, if it's like milk, I'm probably gonna see it because I use it a lot. But if it's like a can of something that I might not use in the next month, I'll just throw it out the next month. And if I do use something kind of random that I don't use every day, then I always check the expiration to make sure. But make sure you're going through and like throwing out things in bulk that need expiration or have an expiration date, because honey, I do this in my fridge, like it gets empty and it's so satisfying. Like the most satisfying thing ever. I kid you not. On another note, make sure if you're decluttering, I know this might not be your vibe, but if you're someone who gets stressed out by things, don't be afraid to reorganize your house. In my old house with my roommates, we literally got rid of our couch and just moved our bar, turned into a table, and so we had the bar against the wall. We moved the bar into a table, or opened it up so that it was a table, and just put it where the couch was, and our room looked so much better. It was way less decluttered. It was more room to move around for the dogs to play, and we thought it was going to be the worst idea ever, and it turned out great. So don't be afraid to like try new things. If your living room feels super overwhelming, or there's too much space or not enough space in there, don't be afraid to just move furniture around. Josh would know that I just like literally move stuff around randomly all the time, especially because we're still moving. He never says anything, so I'm just gonna keep moving stuff until he says something, I guess. Fun little game. But yeah, and then you can always sell your furniture to someone or give it to someone in need. And I promise you, like, you actually need way less than you think you do. And there's something so freeing about not having as much stuff. I don't know what it is. You just feel better, like less attached, but also you just feel like, I don't even know how to explain it. You just feel freer. Like, I don't even know. But one thing I do want to say before we continue is, I forgot to mention this. I mentioned it a little bit, but why does no one talk about fall cleaning? I know my ADHD brain is just like taking a left turn here. Like, we talk about spring cleaning all the time, but spring cleaning, I kind of understand because we're coming out of hibernation almost, so there is a lot of clutter. But like, mentally, I feel like fall cleaning is so much more important because we're basically going into hibernation. Like, we're not going to be able to go outside. A lot of people don't really go out as much. They spend more time at home because it's just cold and miserable. And if you like live in a place where you have all 4 seasons or it gets really cold, I think it's so important to prioritize making your space comfortable for the fall and winter, especially if like you live in a place like America where we have Thanksgiving and then Christmas right after, and you want your space to feel clean and nice and have candles, and you know, you may have family coming. And I just feel like for your mental health, fall cleaning is more important because you're gonna be using this space probably more than the spring or summer when you're home and you can't really, you don't have the flexibility to walk anywhere or going outside or anything like that. You kind of have to stay inside. So I don't know, like, I wish that as a society we talked about fall cleaning more, because spring cleaning's great. We don't really talk about it as much. When I feel like when I was growing up, it was like bigger, more important, but we need to talk about fall cleaning. I definitely see the value in both, but I think mentally, fall, it's more important to make sure your space is curated to what you or your family or your partner are really looking for, and what is going to give you that optimum level of mental health or physical health, or, you know, all the things. Make it better, like make you an area so that you can work out inside, things like that. Anyway, little tangent. I was just thinking about that last night. But as I was saying, we've talked about furniture. Oh my gosh, another big thing is, if you are someone who is big into DIY like I am, I'm sure you have a craft supply space like I do. And I'm sure you have paint from 2007 like I do. And I'm sure you have things you didn't even know you had in there. And you can either use it to DIY something amazing, or you can get rid of it. And you need to completely detach, remove any emotion when you're decluttering, because you will start to get nostalgic. Like I said, I'm a very emotional person. I'm a Cancer moon, hello. So I look at it from the frame set of if my future self isn't using it, then my present self doesn't need to be, because I'm not gonna become the person I want to become if I'm doing or using things that aren't serving me anymore or aren't gonna help me get there in the long run. So if you are emotional, that's one way to look at it. But if you are a little bit better at detaching, go ahead and detach, and be super brutal about it, and just get rid of anything. If you think, I don't know if I'm gonna use this, or maybe I'll use this in a year or two, throw it out, because there's a pretty high possibility that if you need it, you'll probably be able to buy it again, especially if it's something inexpensive. And you know, like I mentioned, you could always go to Goodwill, or there's ways where you can practice like slower consumption of products, and you can also give these products to a place where someone can use them better. And you never know, someone could be praying for something that you have, and by you giving it to a secondhand store or something like a donation like Salvation Army, you're actually answering their prayer and helping them more than you will ever know, because you know, you don't know where your stuff goes. But that's how I like to think of it. If I'm not using it, I know there's someone out there who can use it better than I can, and that helps me give things away a little bit easier. So yeah, go through silly things like your craft closet. We have like a season closet where we put all of our holiday stuff, so go through there. I like to do that by season. So like when October comes, you can hear my dog tip tapping on the wood floor. Like when October comes, if I don't like a Halloween thing anymore, go ahead and bring it to Goodwill. This is a perfect time for someone else to take it and use it for their holiday or their Halloween celebrations. I'm just talking about Halloween because that's what we're using right now. Christmas is the same way. I mean, some people do a different Christmas theme every single year. They do different ornaments on their tree every year. And you don't need those ornaments from 5 years ago. It's just a box. And boxes add up. So that is something interesting. My hard thing right now is my mom is having me get rid of like a lot of things from my childhood that shouldn't be nostalgic but are. Like, I have my childhood furniture from like my entire childhood, like until I literally moved out for college, just in my mom's storage unit. And I'm like, well, at this point I'll probably have kids in the next 5 years, so they can have it. But it's like, no. So things like that we need to be brutal about. I know I've been talking about this and you're like, no, I promise we need to be brutal. I need to be brutal, you need to be brutal. So that's pretty much applies to all physical things. Your junk drawer, sis, there's nothing more satisfying than going through your junk drawer, I promise. For the first like minute, you're dreading it and getting yourself up to do it. You actually dread it, but it's so satisfying when you actually go through and throw out things you don't need. Just organize it. Go make it fun. Like, go to the dollar store or the dollar section at Target or even, you know, Walmart. It doesn't have to be fancy. Home Goods if you're really feeling it, and get little dividers for your drawers. By doing that, you're just like organizing things so it looks neater, and mentally that does more for me. That helps me appreciate it and not get as stressed out, because if you feel like everything you have is 100% necessary, then like organize it so that you're less stressed. And like I mentioned, go get little containers if you can. If not, we can still find ways to divide it. But, you know, yeah, that's a fun little hack. If we can't declutter and we have too much stuff, just give yourself the illusion by organizing it. Okay, so next we are going to talk about decluttering our body in the physical sense. I like went to the doctor, and ever since then I've just been like, I need to eat healthy. Literally, there's nothing that came back that said there's anything wrong with me, really, aside from like things I've kind of already mentioned on here. But I am just like, man, I need to get in shape. Like, I need to eat healthier. So I've been like on a detox, my body type beat. And so I feel like if you are in a similar space where you just feel like you're in a funk and you want to just practice healthier ways, I always like to kind of detox my body before I do that, which declutter. So I have been drinking a lot of green tea. I try to lay off the dairy, which just a little like FYI, I've never been a huge dairy person. I think I might be lactose intolerant. So for me to just cut dairy, it's a lot easier for someone who drinks it every single day. I am telling you now, if you cut dairy for like a week or 2 weeks and then you go back to it, you will be sick for a couple days. So I do want to give people that disclaimer. I'm not telling you that you have to do that because everybody is different, but this is what helps me. I stopped drinking dairy and eating it as much as possible because it makes me feel like not heavier in the physical sense, but like mentally foggier. It just makes my body feel like it's not functioning as well as it can, like slower. I literally feel slower. I also have been trying to cut back on sugar because I just don't like the idea of sugar like controlling you, because you know that like there's all this research that shows that sugar is more addictive than cocaine. Yikes, I don't like that. I don't like the idea of feeling like I'm dependent on anything, and I think I definitely have a little bit of an addiction to sugar. And there, like at one point I was literally consuming so much refined sugar, so I've been trying to take a step back from that and overall just eat things that required less prep, like more natural raw things. It's okay for it to be cooked, but like something that's processed or greasy or doesn't like goes from a store to a restaurant to me instead of just directly to me from the store or the farmer's market. I've been trying to stay away from those things because they make me feel groggy. So if you are working on kind of decluttering, detoxing, a good thing to do is drink green tea, drink lots of water, drink hot tea or hot water with lemon in it. If you can handle it hot, it's better for your digestive system. However, a lot of people drink it cold. That's fine too. I'm trying to think. My favorite drink is cold water with a couple mint leaves, sliced up strawberries, and sliced up cucumber. If you can handle it. A lot of people have a weird thing with cucumber. And yes, trying to stay away from carbs as well. Obviously you need some of these things to function, but not eating a huge bowl of pasta. Like I mentioned, nutrition is a very individualized thing. So again, consult your doctor and don't do anything too crazy. This works for me, but you know your body best, so definitely do things that you know your body can handle and are going to benefit you in the long run. So those are just ways that I feel a little bit better. I'm trying to think. Obviously exercising is super helpful. I know I feel like I have no energy, but when I exercise it almost feels like that feeling of not being able to move is completely released and my joints are looser, my muscles are looser. Funny how that works. I'm pretty sure that's the point of it, like a big plus of exercise, but you definitely just feel lighter. I do like to shower because like sweat and gross, but I think that that's something that's beneficial. Yoga is beneficial. In terms of decluttering your body in a physical sense, it's really mainly like your diet. So like I mentioned, eating lighter always helps me, but be very careful about what you do and know yourself and what you can and can't tolerate. In terms of decluttering your mind, this is mainly what I've been working on because I feel like this is one of the most important aspects of decluttering your life because your mindset changes everything. So when I am decluttering my mind, the first thing I do is meditate. I like to meditate every single day. That's a lot for some people, but I try to do it at night. When I'm laying down, I'll either turn it on the TV, or if Josh is in the room and I don't really like it when he hears my meditations. I don't know why. When he is in the room, I will just put my headphones in and do it on my phone. Some people can meditate on their own. I prefer guided meditations because I do have anxiety and I'm working on that, but it makes it a little bit harder for me to focus for meditations because I just think a lot. Like I genuinely think a lot and I try to think about positive things, but when you have anxiety, you know that you can spiral really fast. So that's why I like guided meditations. Be very careful what meditations you're listening to because there can be some, what's the word, like subliminals and meditations are it's a very gray area. Some people will include subliminals in their meditations, so you really want to be careful, especially if you use YouTube, which I use YouTube, but I try and use recommended other people I have talked to on platforms and stuff, like people I know in the spiritual or meditation world who they trust and recommend that they have used and they haven't had any negative side effects. But Spotify is really good. Like I mentioned, you still gotta be careful with subliminals though. I think it's less likely, but anyone can post on Spotify. Like after I posted wow, I can't talk. After I started posting my podcast on Spotify, I was like, wow, this is the easiest thing ever. And I realized it's not as like credible as I once thought it was. Part of that is me having imposter syndrome. Like I literally have a whole podcast and I'm like, silly little me posting on, I don't know. But yeah, I do really recommend being careful with subliminals because your mental health is so important. It frames the rest of your world and you need to make sure that you are very careful about what you are consuming. On that same note, another thing is your mental diet. So I'm not just talking about your inner dialogue. A lot of times when people talk about mental diet, they're talking about their inner dialogue and how they talk to themselves or talk about the world, and they want their inner dialogue to be as positive as possible. So their thoughts need to be as positive as possible, and that's where usually people end when it comes to the mental diet. But I like to also think about what I'm consuming. So I've been trying to consume less technology. I've talked about that. I've been trying to consume less negativity. I'm very careful about who I hang out with, and you know, just what my brain is around, because your brain is a sponge at the end of the day. And I know you can't control everything, but to an extent you can definitely control whether the things that you are consuming are through a positive outlook or a negative outlook, and whether they're for the better, for the worse, or if they align with what you want your best self to be. At the end of the day, you are thinking about your best self and whether everything that you have is helping them or hurting them. So in terms of decluttering your mind for the ability to think more clearly, process things faster, things like that, it also comes down to eating. Your gut and your brain are directly tied. You need to make sure you're having positive gut processes, the right level of bacteria going on in there, but you also want to make sure you're consuming things that are going to benefit you. I won't even listen to, this is a little extreme, but I won't listen to sad music because it has such a negative effect on you. Like, I have noticed that I get in a really sad mood if I listen to like 2 or more songs that are sad in a row. So I used to really enjoy sad music because personally I feel like there's a lot more lyrically and it's a lot deeper, and I just love identifying with it and hearing the music behind it, and just, you know, I feel like typically sad songs have more words, it's less repeating, it's more just like deeper, and I identify with that as like a writer, as someone who literally writes poems in my free time. But I found that I had such a negative outlook on life, and when I took a look at the music I was listening to, my top songs were sad. So I stopped doing that, and it literally made a major difference. It's not like, it wasn't like overnight my life was immediately sunshines and rainbows, but it was definitely a huge step in the right direction. So what you consume is super, super important, and I think being more intentional about what you consume is very important. So overall, also just looking at life through the lens of what is no longer serving me, because you can declutter any area of your life. You can declutter literally any area. So it's really important to be brutal. Like, there's times when you're gonna need to be brutal, and if like a friendship is no longer serving you, or it's not mutually beneficial, and you're the, you know, you want to make sure that you're being a good friend to people, obviously, but if you realize that you're the one who is lacking something, having that conversation and trying to save that relationship is important. So things like that, just looking through a lens of what would my best self do? How would they act? What friends would they have? What does their house look like? What kind of clothes do they wear? How do they eat? What does their body look like? Do they go to the gym 6 days a week? Do they go to the gym at all? Do they read? Do they watch TV? What religion are they? I know some people don't even really think about stuff like that, but what thoughts does your ideal person have? And if it's something that you aren't currently doing, declutter until you hit that point where you feel comfortable to build blocks onto who your higher self is. So I am really minimalistic in the aspect of, I like my house to be clean, I like my house to be aesthetic, I like my house to feel homey, and that's how I like most of my life to feel, very minimalistic while also cozy and homey. But also I want everything to mirror the person I see in my head. What does her bedroom look like? What does her fridge look like? What does her dinners look like? Does she cook every night? Does she eat out? What does her bank account look like? And I am making decisions based on her, because that's who I want to become. And I know some people hear that and they're like, why would you do that? But it's like, why wouldn't you? Don't you want to become that version of yourself that is what you have literally claimed to be, the better version of yourself, or the best version of yourself? Why would you not want to do that? Why would you want to stay stuck in a pattern of who you currently are if you know that the opportunity is out there to become a more upgraded, more in tune, kinder, happier version, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure how long this episode is, since I had to cut it quite a few times with the dogs running around, but I really hope that it was helpful in some way. I definitely am decluttering, and like I mentioned, if you want to see that, need to see proof of that, follow the podcast, Instagram, because I have been posting a lot about decorating and moving things around and reorganizing and getting rid of things, and I love hearing your guys' voices. I ask you for help on like, oh, what do you like this decoration here? What do you think should go here? Things like that. So if that is of interest to you, or you want to join the community, like I mentioned, go ahead and give me a follow on there, as well as TikTok. Follow or subscribe on whichever platform you're currently listening on. If you leave a rating or review, go ahead and leave your Instagram and I will give you a shout out. I love reading them, and I am so excited that this podcast is growing so fast. I love you guys literally to the moon and back. You make my world, and I have so much fun making these episodes for you. I cannot express how grateful I am. So now that I have talked you through decluttering, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them on my Instagram. But other than that, I love you so much, and go declutter your life to become the best human that you possibly want to be. So I'll see you guys in my next episode. I love you so much. Bye guys.